An argument that's used against such things, and this is the argument that the city of Chicago used against Mr. McDonald, is that a civilized, and that is quoted, a civilized community does not require such items as a firearm in order to exist, in order to maintain a secure preservation. And the city of Chicago uses other civilized community examples as their source of success. Places such as England, Australia, that kind of shit. Now, I dig this part, and you're gonna like this, Mike. I don't know if any of the rest of you guys are gonna like this because you can in some cases you can bring a helicopter into a combat zone to get people out, and some asshole will get on the helicopter and be like, "We only got half a tank. It's bullshit." that's a messed up metaphor. Okay, you guys ready? Here you go. This is the court's response to that argument. Municipal respondents' main argument is nothing less than a plea to disregard 50 years of incorporation precedent and return, presumably for this case only, to a bygone era. Municipal respondents submit that the Due Process Clause protects only those rights recognized by all temperate and civilized governments, from a deep and universal sense of their justice. According to municipal respondents, if it is possible to imagine any civilized legal system that does not recognize a particular right, then the Due Process Clause does not make that right binding on the states. Therefore, the municipal respondents continue, because such countries as England, Canada, Australia, Japan, Denmark, Finland, Luxembourg, and New Zealand, and either ban or severely limit handgun ownership, it must follow that no right to possess such weapons is protected by the 14th Amendment. This line of argument is, of course, inconsistent with the long-established standard we apply in incorporation cases, and the present-day implication of municipal respondents' argument are stunning. For example, many of the rights that our Bill of Rights provides for persons accused of criminal offenses are virtually unique to this country. If our understanding of the right to a jury trial, the right against self-incrimination, and the right to counsel were necessary attributes to any civilized country, it would follow that the United States is the only civilized nation in the world. So, pretty cool stuff, huh? I mean, I like that. Uh, if you want to hear another thing that I think you'll very much be interested in from this case finding, is a fundamental foundation for the reason that the people who started our land were so interested in this particular issue. Believe what you will and think what you want, but listen to this. This is Justice Alito speaking. As we noted in Heller, that's referring to Heller versus the District of Columbia, King George III's attempt to disarm the colonists in the 1760s and 1770s provoked polemical reactions by Americans, invoking their rights as Englishmen to keep arms. The right to keep and bear arms was considered no less fundamental by those who drafted and ratified the Bill of Rights. This understanding persisted in the years immediately following the ratification of the Bill of Rights. To make a long story short, Too late. Mr. McCarthy is now allowed to have a firearm in Chicago. I would like to conclude this with a couple of things, and it's in reference to some of the comments, which I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and not just merely see them as pretentious chest thumping. When you look at the conclusion of a law, there's two ways to look at it. I mean, you can look at it as a moment in time where a citizen of our country has a grief, and in my perspective, a legitimate grief. He proposes this legitimate grief to persons of enlightenment, and his grief is resolved. The other way to look at it is you look at the dissension remarks of the Supreme Court justices. Perhaps, oh, it only passed 5-4. It's not close enough, as Smitty Smith GT said. And think, well, within this court finding is the potential for future loss. That's fine. However, that does somewhat reveal your lack of historical understanding, if you choose to take that standpoint. If you look at some of the previous Supreme Court findings regarding firearms and regarding other issues of the Bill of Rights, when the so-called left side won, what sort of a margin do you reckon they won by? A couple cases was 5-4. Check out some of them. There's plenty if you look. No, I mean, you look at something and you see what you want. You know, you look at the one person, just like I said in part 1, looks at the 14th Amendment and says, oh, we're subject to the Incorporated United States of America, and the Rothschilds are just going to come and get us. Another person, as I just pointed out, sees it as a citizen of Florida, sees a problem with his friend and fellow countryman in the state of Massachusetts, and he takes up that grievance with the rest of the nation. He says, one of our people is having his rights trampled. We must bond together and resolve this issue. That's the law for you. You have tools at hand, and when these Supreme Court justices put within these findings their points of dissension and their points of contention and their points of agreement, then you kind of get a path of what's making the dudes tick, and that's what when people cite a case such as District of Columbia versus Heller, they aren't just talking about the finding. Heller versus DC means you get a gun. It's not like that. You use it as Heller versus DC. It's like a bibliography, and you point out Supreme Court Justice so-and-so said this, that, and the other thing. And we all think about what that person said and apply it to the context of what we're trying to accomplish. We're dividing up the truth as we see it in an attempt to try to get the results that we actually desire. The other side's been doing it for years. And being a nation of law, this is how you fight it. Frankly, I believe that this movement to dismantle these precepts and these systems is perhaps a I'm going to assume well-meaning attempt to derail the mechanism by so much freedom has been lost. However, and this is ironic, in this nation, the way it stands and the way the Constitution is written, if somebody writes a law taking away your freedom, the way to get it back is to write another law that takes away that law's ability to take away your freedom, thus guaranteeing that freedom. These are my thoughts at the time, not yours, of course. I personally have a very open interpretation of the freedom of speech. So naturally, as always, my comments and video responses will be open. And with that, I'm going to be taking my little break here, and probably I'm going to have my videos available through Monday, and then Monday I'm going to go ahead and make my vids unavailable because I get a lot of I get quite a bit of feedback, and I don't want to get so far behind that that I end up not addressing somebody. So I'll be having my vids unavailable for the few days that I'm gone, but then I'll be back. I don't know. Something else, isn't it? Quite a nation we live in, but we're damn lucky.